Taoiseach, as we all agree in the House, Brexit posed the most serious challenge to this country since the foundation of the state. Already we've seen the policy decision of devaluing of sterling having an implication of a cost of some 470 million in terms of effect to the agri-food industry, and that's only in the last few months alone. Today we have the UK Government publishing their white paper on Brexit, which might give an indication of how they propose to actually manage the Brexit negotiations when Article 50 is eventually signed, probably next month. What seems absolutely clear from our potential here, despite the platitudes on all sides, is that we are not prioritising Brexit to the extent we need to in terms of the effect on our economy. Indeed, yesterday we had to depend on listening to the debate in the House of Commons to find out what the plans and effects will be on this country. We had in the Secretary for State, James Brocketsh's address to the House of Commons, in agreeing with the DUP's Sammy Wilson, that to give Northern Ireland a special deal would be the wrong approach. Furthermore, it seems clear that there is definitely going to be a hard border. This morning we had Mr Lux of the EU Commission going into extraordinary detail in outlining blue and red channels in terms of goods going over and back across the border. This situation is totally unacceptable, and it's within 48 hours or so, when these comments came out, of Prime Minister May here talking about the need not to return to the old border situation. But the question is, what are we beginning to do about it? Does the commentary of Mr Lux this morning not clearly underline the need for Ireland to build an alliance against what is a very fast emerging hard Brexit for this country, hard borders, red and blue channels where heavy goods vehicles and others will have to be called in and checked? He said some of it will be used with the benefit of technology, but he said it will also require border posts and staff. This is a seriously retrograde step. Brexit has the potential to wreck the Northern Ireland peace process, to wreck the Good Friday Agreement, to seriously impede upon border communities already struggling in the context of what trade is going to be damaged as a result of this. We have had constant platitudes from the government talking about we have an all-government approach. What we need is a minister for Brexit, appropriately resourced, and you need to publish a plan immediately about how bilateral negotiations with Britain are going to go, and more particularly how negotiations are going to go in with the EU Commission. It is essential that Northern Ireland are granted a special deal to secure the future of this entire nation economically, but also socially and politically. Does the Taoiseach accept that there is very real and serious risk facing Ireland with the implications of the border controls, which were confirmed this morning by Mr Lux? Almost finished. Is the government accepting that borders are going to be put in, as Mr Lux suggested this morning? And can you please outline the position to the House?
Taoiseach, please.
Well, the first thing I'd say to you, Deputy, is that we're under absolutely no illusion about the nature and scale of the Brexit challenge, and we have a clear and comprehensive plan, and that has been evident in our approach to date. The Taoiseach has made it absolutely clear about his own view in relation to the fact that he is leading on this and will continue to lead on it, and all ministers across government are also involved as part of a comprehensive planning and reaction to the very serious challenges that we do face as a country. We're absolutely clear on them. And, you know, to continue to talk about lack of preparation, really, I think from a reputational point of view, as far as Ireland is concerned, I don't believe that that's the approach that the main opposition party should be taking, because it's very clear that deep analysis has been done across all areas, across the Brexit network that's there in government, with 11 working groups. Indeed, in my own department, a huge amount of work has been done. I'll be meeting the Home Secretary, Amber Rudd, on Monday to continue the discussion. And it's very clear that the top-level priorities have been identified. Trade, economy, Northern Ireland peace process, the common travel area, the future of the EU. And we've looked at the risks and the mitigations and what is needed. And of course we now have the situation where the House of Commons has passed the first stage of the bill, allowing the Prime Minister to notify the European Union of the UK's intention to leave. So we're in a different situation now, where the first formal step has been taken. and more to come in the legislative process and the white paper. And of course that white paper will be useful so that we can deepen our preparations and also at EU level detail those our priorities. There's also ongoing meetings with the different sectors, with industry and civic society. We've had the All-Ireland Dialogue. That will continue. There will be another meeting very shortly. I don't have time to go into the enormous programme of engagement that has been undertaken by the Taoiseach and by other ministers, but let me just reassure the House it has been very intensive, with detailed work being done on all of the implications. But of course, until Article 50, formal negotiations don't begin. But I would say to you that our plan is having an effect. Chief EU negotiator Barnier has named 4 initial priorities. And you spoke about Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland is one of those. I met with him and his team myself, as indeed did the Taoiseach and a whole number of other ministers, and had detailed discussions about our priorities with Brexit. We made it very clear to him our position in relation to not returning to any type of a hard border. His other priorities are protecting the common travel area. That's one of the Prime Minister May's 12 negotiating priorities. That's important. And of course, as the greater clarity comes out from the British side, we will be in a position to continue with ensuring that our headline priorities are centre stage, both in our contact with the UK, but indeed across the EU, and with all of the meetings we'll continue to have with EU heads of state.
Now, you have 1 minute, Deputy McSherry, please.
Thanks, Sean Corda. Taoiseach, it's time that we were honest with the people. You keep telling us of how busy you are, how much work has been done, but Mr Lux this morning let the cat out of the bag. Red and green channels he spoke of. You need to clarify this for the people. 6 weeks ago, traffic was funnelled from the M1 onto the N1 at Ravensdale to screen traffic by customs guards and social welfare. Is this a dry run for what we can expect in the future? It's time that you outline the plan clearly to the people. Far too much is at stake. And can you confirm that additional staff and resources will be exclusively assigned to the issue of Brexit so that these matters can be dealt with?
In response to your dramatic statements there, what I would say is that no decisions have been taken yet. No negotiations have begun. Don't think you should be anticipating the outcome at this point. We heard one commentator this morning, one amongst many. We're hearing many commentators, many opinions. We're hearing many individual comments and opinions, but we are not in negotiating mode yet, as you well know. We've had comments from many different European commentators. This is a decision that's been taken by the UK people and their government. We are engaging with every member state to explain our unique issues, and that is progressing well. But of course it will intensify in the period ahead. It has to intensify. But every initiative is being taken that we can take at this point. In my own area, for example, in my meetings with my northern counterpart and east-west, and in my meetings next week, we're discussing the implications for civil and criminal law, and there are many. And there will be a huge amount of work to be done. But there's very intensive engagement within departments and across departments at this point, highlighting the priority of this issue for us as a government.